Yes, it's all good. All right. Well, thanks for joining me again today.
Thank you.
For
Yes.
free WordPress lesson. Today we're going to be talking about security, and we're going to go over three of the, I guess, most popular plugins that you can install right now to not all at the same time. You would normally just choose the one. But yeah, I'll just go through some of the top three plugins that we use or that you hear about. So I'm going to share my screen and we can do that one. Cool. So as you can see on the screen, you'll see one of the three. The first is Ithemes Security. Second one is WordFence Security, and the third one is Security. Now, I guess the first thing I should say about these is that they all primarily do the same thing. They help to secure your website. So they do all sorts of things like they monitor any traffic that's coming to your site that is trying to log in to your website, maybe through your WP-admin screen for the login, and then they're just trying to bust their way through, just guess passwords and usernames. So what the plugins do is that they see that happening, and then they automatically throttle the IP that the attack or the wherever it's coming from. So then it blocks that particular IP, and it blacklists that IP as well for future. So then if it comes back again and tries again, then it will be blocked. So all of that's done automatically without you actually even having to blink or think about it, which is pretty amazing. They do other things as well, such as file change monitoring. So if your site is to get hacked or does get hacked in any way, then these will alert you to any file changes that appear within the file structure of the website. So if anything's changed within WP content folder, or so if a PHP file is injected or added into the PHP file structure of WordPress, then it will alert you to that actually happening. So that's kind of cool too. And some of them even block that from happening, being able to for outside or external forces or users, or the ability for bots or any other nefarious agents to inject or even put PHP files and other files into the directory as well. So they all pretty much do the same thing. Now, the biggest thing that I have to say is that you have to just choose one security plugin and use that on your site. Don't stick 2 or 3 plugins, security plugins on your website, because that's going to really affect the performance of your website. It's going to really slow things down. So yeah, don't ever put more than one security plugin on your website. Just choose one and then set it all up and let it run. So again, the most popular three, Ithemes, WordFence, and Security. So they all do similar things, but there's some of them also do things differently as well. So for example, WordFence has this thing called Wordpress Firewall. So what that means, as it says here, it identifies and blocks malicious traffic, and basically that there's a big team behind WordFence, in the sense that there's a whole bunch of people that are collecting data on any malicious traffic on other websites, And what they do is then they update like a master database of where all the, of where all those attacks are coming from, like IPs, and all that sort of thing. So then they database all that, and then they push that out across all the websites that have WordFence installed automatically, which is kind of cool. So, yeah, if one website gets attacked, then all websites on using the same plugin, WordFence, they all get notified, like they all get updated. That database is updated. Now with WordFence, there is with most of them, there is there's the free version of the plugin, and then there's the pro or premium version of the plugin. So the free version gives you, certain abilities, and then if you want to add extra things, and one of the most common things is two-factor authentication, which is when you log into your website, there's a two-factor authentication method. So you have to put in a special code on the login screen, which adds that extra barrier to entry into your website. So those 2FA or two-factor authentication features are a premium add-on. I know that's with Ithemes and WordFence. Security, I don't know whether Security actually really does most of what Ithemes and WordFence does, but it does most of the things.
It does blacklist monitoring. That would be the same thing, wouldn't it?
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
So but that's just looking at what's happening now in that time, at that time period. So, and they do have a website firewall. So again, that would be that's a premium feature. So, but I don't think they have 2FA. I'm not really sure 100%.
WordFence has got the firewall on the free version.
It does have, yes, it does. But if you look at the notes here, the free version is delayed by 30 days of those firewall rule updates. So, but premium, you get it real time. So that's the difference. So yeah, so you can just go to the plugin repo on WordPress and have a look at these different plugins to see what they feature. But more or less, they do the same sort of thing. So there's one feature that Ithemes has, which is pretty neat, and that's the ability to change the login URL of the admin. So you can change, so instead of typing in wp-admin, you can actually change that to another name. So you could, call it login or backdoor or whatever you want. Basically, you've just got to remember what that is when you log in. But yeah, because most attacks on WordPress sort of happen at the login screen page, because that's where where they're trying to get in with the username and passwords. So yeah, that's a really cool feature where you can just change the name, because most bots and most attacks will happen at the wp-admin URL, because that's that's what they're what the bots or the hacking bots are trying to access, because that's what most people out of the box generally use for their login screen. So yeah, so that's a really cool feature of Ithemes, that you can change the name of your WordPress admin login screen, which is kind of cool. I personally think that Ithemes Security is the better out of. I've used all three, and I think Ithemes Security is the better one out of all three. Why do I say that? Because it's got more features than what Security offers, and it's got that URL change. I think that's I believe, if I remember correctly, I think that's even available on the free version of the plugin, which is pretty neat for Ithemes. WordFence, you have to pay for that 2FA two-factor authentication. And I'm not 100% sure that you can change, you probably can change your admin page login. I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't think you can. I can't remember seeing any of those settings in WordFence. I think I've just used another plugin for that to change the URL.
What's that other plugin?
Sorry?
What's that other plugin you said you use?
It is called, what is it called? Let's do a Google search. WordFence change admin login URL. Where is it? Where is it? I think it's this one here. I think it's just called change WP admin login. I think that was it. Yeah. So I think there's several. I'm not sure whether I've used this one, but there's different ones. But this one looks pretty good. So so there's an example there on the screen. So yeah, you can change it to my login rather than it saying WP-admin. So yeah. I think also you might even be able to just do it as a function if you want to get into code. But that's the other one I use. Yeah, Wps Hide Login. That's the other one. So they do the same thing. The change WP-admin login. It does the same thing. So it doesn't really matter which one you use. But yeah, I think there's also a way you can do it without a plugin as well. If you want to get into the code, you basically just create a new login PHP file, and yeah, just sort of go to Google and type in change WordPress admin login URL without plugin, and there's elegant themes. Well, there's a few actually. There's a few few options here. But elegant themes has a blog post on it, so you can just you can just create one yourself. So and this is a pretty neat one too, because you can send or request to a 404 not found page as well, which is quite neat. So yeah, so that's pretty neat. So coming back to these, security plugins. So the other reason why I use Ithemes is because I find, well, actually I've used Securi. Securi is fine, but I find that WordFence is quite heavy on the resources of a website. I always notice a slowdown in the website when I install WordFence. And that's just me personally. Other people might find it okay, but yeah, I just find it to be a little bit more bloaty, and it does put a bit more load on the website, and maybe that's because it's just continuously running in the background, and it's always always checking all that sort of stuff, which it should be doing. So yeah, and that's why you never have more than one security plugin installed, because if you've got, and I have seen this, I've seen people have WordFence and Securi installed on the same website, and the site runs really slowly. I've just found that. So just by knocking one of those off, it improves the load speeds dramatically. So, because yeah, then you've got two scripts that are running at the same time, doing the same thing, and it's overkill. So just remember to not do that. So yeah, any questions about these that you might have?
Nope. Nope.
I'm actually amazed because I get a report every week on WordFence, and it's a number of attacks that are made in that 1 week on the same website. It runs into hundreds.
Yeah.
And a number of blocked IP addresses and countries even blocked.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. Yes, it will never stop. So, are you noticing also that they're trying to log in with known usernames?
Admin's the most popular.
Admin would be the most popular, yeah. But have you seen any come through that have your particular username come up?
No, I haven't.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. So, the other features, particularly about security, is that you can, and this is even in the free version of it, is that you can harden. There's these hardening features. So you can basically like lock down certain areas of the site. So you can also remove things like information, like the README or the README sort of files in the file base of the site. So or the file structure, and also there's a particular file in the WordPress file structure that gives away your version, what version of WordPress you're running, and some other information as well, which is not good which is things that bots and malicious, well, they're all bots really, they're not human beings, but yeah, they'll be looking for all those files and looking at, ways to penetrate your website. So, yeah, there's the features of hardening, security hardening is by locking down or even hiding or removing some files that give away really important information. And Security does a very good job of that. It just has like a whole list of these different things that you can just click harden, 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 harden. And it's basically stuff like, it's might be like putting in a htaccess file into your WP content folder, which stops any bots or anything that tries to inject or add in any files like PHP files or anything like that. It just puts a block on any of that sort of thing. So yeah, so that's really cool features. I think they all have them. I think they all have those block feet or those hardening features. So, but I know security is really quite, that's really easy to sort of do and get to as well in the settings. One thing about Ithemes security is that it's got a lot of, actually I'll show you. Let's go and fire Ithemes up. Where is it? I got so many plugins installed on this dev site. All right, so that's now activated. So I'll go into security. So this is what the Ithemes security dashboard looks like. So it's got a whole bunch of these different things here, which is pretty neat. So you can go through your security check, and this will just allow, when the button is clicked below, oh no, that's the pro version. So yeah, when you secure the site, it's checking all these different things. So I'll just click that, and then it does a check on how secure your website is. And then it brings up, things that you should implement if it finds something that's a little bit dodgy or that you need to work on to help secure your website. So this is looking all good. I'm getting all pretty a lot of ticks here, except for, you know, your site supports SSL. But I haven't actually set up SSL on this anyway, so I'm not using it. So that's why it's coming up with that. And then this is asking me if I want to receive, you know, updates about the plugin and news and stuff. And also to activate the network brute force protection. So similar to what the other what WordFence and security does as well, is they have a network of brute force as well, of IPs. So yeah, so it's good to do that. And then, yeah, I always get lost in here, but it's got, you know, file change detection. So that's a really good thing to enable. And what else? 404 page detection as well. So if you can see any users or any IPs that are trying to get through on 404 pages or hitting those. And then there's all the pro version, all the pro stuff that you can't get access to because unless you want to, you know, sign up for a pro version. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. There is, if I go to global settings, you can set a whole bunch of stuff here. So this is where your blacklist threshold is. So, you know, enable blacklist repeat offenders. So if, you know, any more than, if an IP comes in and it's recognized that as it's trying to, you know, hack into your website, then it will, you know, if it locks it out 3 times in here, as it says, then the host is banned permanently from the site. So if it's trying to, you know, if the IP or the bot or whatever is trying to hack into your site, if that you know, hits past the 3 lockouts, then it will be banned completely, 100% forever. And then you've got these different, so you can change all that. So you can go, well, I don't know, just want the one attempt. So, but yeah, that could be a bad thing because you could log in, you could be trying to log into your site and then you could get locked out if you put in your password and stuff wrong. And then you're going to have to go in and deactivate the plugin through your cPanel, which is probably not good. So yeah, maybe do it like a three phase lockout, just in case you get yourself locked out. Or you can even add your own IP address. So you can click that button and it will add your IP address to the list automatically. So it can just whitelist you. And that's always good to do straight off the bat. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of other different settings that you can apply in here as well. I want to go and find.
One of the things I find is that I keep getting information about I'm logging in from a new computer for various things. Is that because my internet is actually changing IP addresses on a regular basis?
Do you have a dynamic IP or a static IP for your internet? Is that just the same computer within your office, or different computers on the same Wi-Fi network, or is it different?
Jess, how are you going? Pretty good.
He's on the phone. That's all good. Anyway, I'll keep going. So yeah. Anyway, so this I think this is a really cool plugin, the Ithemes one, because it's just, I just find it to be a lot lighter, as I said.
What's some WordPress thoughts over there at the extreme? What the hell is that?
Sorry, what was
salts?
Salts.
Yeah, it was on the screen just now before you went with the blocks.
So yeah, so these are so salts, right? Yeah, so they're the secret keys you'll, what's the best way to show you? Let me just jump into my cPanel here and I'll show you what the salts are. And the salts live in the WP config file of the file structure of your site. So let me just jump into an example site. So I'll just go in here. Okay, so this is just a typical Wordpress file structure. So if I go into the WP config file, the wp-config.php file, so it's actually a bit dangerous. Let me just go. It should be fine on this site. Hang on a sec.
Don't worry, Paul, if it's difficult. It was just an unusual.
No, it's not that it's difficult. It's just that I've just got to find a site on here that's not, because this will have database. I'll just update it. But yeah, I'll go in. I'll just edit this file because it's got, yeah, I'm going to be I'm recording this session and it's got database name and username. So it's kind of, and password. So it's a little bit insecure, I guess, but I'll just change these passwords later. So anyway, so these here are your salts. So in this section here, that I've highlighted. So these are automatically created when you install WordPress out of the box, and basically they're just another sort of level of security that sort of identify, I guess. I don't really know fully how to explain what these are, but they're just basically just another layer of security. So they've got all these really long strings for different things like auth key, secure auth key, login key, nonce key, auth salt, secure auth salt. Okay, here we go. Let's go to Google. Whenever I'm cleaning up a hacked website, that's one of the things that I'll change, that I'll actually change in the file, in the WP config file, just to generate some new salts. And you can actually generate new salts by just going to this link where it says you can generate these using the link. And let me just go and do that. I'm going to unmute you now, Jeff. So yeah, you can go and generate some new salts by just going to this URL. And as you can see here, so if I refresh this page, it generates a whole new set of salts. And then you can just copy those and paste them into to replace, what you've got there. And then you can save the file, and then that does some really cool things. What does the WordPress salts keys do? Okay, yeah. So this is probably a good explanation of what they are, better than what I could probably explain them. So salt keys are cryptographic elements used to hash data in order to secure it. In fact, most serious platforms and systems are similar mechanisms to protect sensitive data. This process works by using the salt keys to encrypt your password when you save it in WordPress. This way, attackers can't see your passwords in plain text, even if they somehow gain access to your database. Cool. So it just basically, encrypts the password within the database itself as well. So Has anybody ever seen the WordPress database? Let me just go into the database. This is kind of going off on a different tangent, but this is cool. So let me just go and find a database, just any particular good old WordPress database here. So this is a typical WordPress, well, it's not typical because there's a few plugin like redirection and rev slider plugins in here. But most of the common tables that you'll have is like, the options table, post meta, posts, users, user meta, and a whole bunch of different ones. But let me just go and show you what's your password looks like within the database. So as you can see here, these are all different user passwords. Now all of these are being hashed, which is what that is referring to, the hash data. And it's mainly Md5 hashing. That's the type of hash that's placed on the database for security. And yeah, so all of these have been hashed. So it's been turned into it's turned your normal numeric or alphanumeric value password that you use, and it puts it into this long string.
That WP Gen 2015 actually shows up at the other. Is that right?
Sorry, what was that, Jeff?
The WP Gen 2015 or Genie 2015 shows up as that big long stretch user pass.
Well, that's the username. So so if you wanted to try and get into this site, then you could use any of these usernames.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know what the password is from this hash value here.
Yeah. So hash values represents each of those other user logins.
Correct. Yes. So now, if you wanted to, I don't know, say for example, let's just say as a scenario, and this is what I do sometimes, is I'm given access to a website, or I'm given, I'm given access to the database of a website where a client may have been locked out, or maybe they've been handed over by a developer and the developer hasn't given any login credentials, so they don't know what they are. And maybe the developer hasn't even created a username and password for the client. So, there's a whole bunch of different scenarios. Yeah, so there's several things. If you've got access to the database, then you've got access to the whole thing. Like it's...
Paul, does that mean sometimes you're not given the option to have a username, and you'll just find that your email address has been generated as your username? What would be the situation there? I mean, surely you're leaving yourself open, aren't you, under this system? I find this happens quite a lot. You're not always given the option to put in a username.
When you're creating a username,
I'll just find that my email address has suddenly turned up as the username.
Well, that's definitely one way you can log into a website, either using your email address or your username. So
yeah, but somewhere along the line, whatever organization or situation I'm logging into, they have taken my option of having a username out and just used my email. So I will look in username Brianda from Brisbane, email address Brianda from Brisbane, even though I haven't put that in.
Right, yeah. And that, again, it really just comes down to what systems are being used. And, there's even some systems where you can put in your email address and it will send you a one-time only password or or access logins, a particular special link that you click on, and then it actually gives you access to the site just through that method.
Okay.
And that's pretty neat. And I've just kind of learned about magic links recently, where you can you can go to a login. There's a plugin for it called Magic Links plugin, where you can actually go and just put in your domain email or a domain name, and if you log in using that domain name, any particular email address can be used on that particular domain name. Then it sends you, so when you go to the login screen, it just says, put in your email address. And then you put in your email address. And then if the domain is listed on the plugin, then it sends an email with a one-time only link to then log into the site. So it does away with the use of passwords, which is kind of neat in a way. It's one less password that you have to remember, and but it's really secure because it's only hinged to your email address. So
But Paul, a lot of the time they're hinging everything to your telephone number, your mobile number. And I found just recently a couple of courses I tried to enroll in, because I've already enrolled maybe in a course many years ago with my mobile number. If I try to log in with a different email address, quoting that same number, they'll say, no, access denied. This has already been used. This telephone number has already been used. This has happened a couple of times. I've been doing some of the Harvard online courses, and they link everything to that mobile number.
Sure, and and that's just another layer of security as well. If you do they send you a code or anything in that?
Not in that instance, text? No.
So what do they need your phone number for? Do they?
I don't know. It's just part of the logging in process.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, that's
and I guess you're like what you're saying. They use, because every mobile number is unique. That acts like a kind of a password anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess you're right. It does. And if you're putting in an email address that's not associated with that mobile phone, then you're going to get locked out, because it's going to look at the system and say, well, yeah, the phone number might be right, but the email address doesn't match that. So
I mean, they then give you options to get in another way, but it's just another irritation. You're trying to log in and suddenly find that there's all sorts of other procedures you have to go through.
Sure.
Fine, I guess it's
and then you might have to reset your password, reset something, or re-verify or something like that. So there's all different systems out there. So so generally, just with WordPress specifically, you've got to, when you're setting up a new user, you have to have a username, and sometimes some people just use an email address in here, but see, the username and the email address are tied to each other anyway. So you could put, Brianda as the username, 1234. Not very secure username, but anyway, we'll just work with that. And then you put your email address in, and then you can, and then when you log in, you can either use your email address or you use your username. And then you use, a really long password. But anyway, I just want to come back to the database here for a sec, because, this is a bit of a technique if you want to, access a website that you don't have access to, or that you, I've got some clients that come to me and say, like, I can't remember my password, or I can't remember the username, or I can't remember what the email address I associated with my account, and I can't get in. And I say to them, do you have, cPanel or hosting access? And then, most of the time they say yes. and then they send me the logins for that. And then I'm able to come into here, into the user database, and then I can find out what their username is. I can find out what their email address is that's associated with the account. So I've got 2 pieces of information, but I still don't know what their password is. But I can recreate a new password just by going into the user database table. So if I go into, say, let me go into this one here, Tracy. What I can do then is go in and edit that particular table, that username table.
Yeah.
And I can come to the user pass. I can come into this user pass value here, and I can and you can see this long string here, which is the string that the password is changed to. Now, what you can do there is you can just remove that and just type in your new password. So it could be, you know, new password. And of course, you would never actually use this as your password.
No, I
1, 2, 3, 4. Then what you can do is, or what you must do after that is you have to go into this drop down here, and you have to go and choose the Md5 value. And then it's basically telling the function, that's the function value there. So it's telling the table to change this from this text format to the Md5 hash format. So if I go and click on go on that, then you'll notice that it's now been... So that's the hash value of new password 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sure.
So that's where it kind of comes back to the salts, kind of feeds back into the salts.
Actually, thank you for that, because that explains why on the occasion when I've forgotten my password and I've actually clicked on the forgot password, instead of actually giving it to me, I've had to create a new one. And this is what it comes down to, isn't it? That's automatically linking in.
Yeah, and that's the easiest way to do it if you've forgotten your password, is to do it that way rather than coming into this database way. It's I don't recommend anybody who doesn't understand this to, this is my caveat and my disclaimer, because I am recording this video, and so I don't recommend, if you don't know what you're doing, because you can break stuff if you're messing around in the database.
But it does explain some of the procedures as to why you go through them at the other end, which is, as I said, what I've found is you can't reclaim a password, but they'll give you the option to make a new one.
Correct. Yes, but aside all that, if you're a bit more technical, and if you ever come to the scenario where you've lost your username, you don't know what your email address is, you know, you don't know what your password is, then there is a way you can reset all that through the database here in this PHP MyAdmin. But again, this is something that you wouldn't normally do. But I just wanted to sort of show you that, because this whole hashing thing is all part of the security component that that WordPress is, you know, has implemented for security, which is a really good thing. It's really, really good. So the Md5 hashing is, it's a really good technology for hiding passwords specifically. So, but it, you know, if a bot or if a hacker gets into your database, then and they can access all of this information, then, you know, they can just change the password, and then they're in, and they can do whatever they want to your site. So this is why it's really important to, you know, have, you know, stop that as much as possible from happening. Nothing's 100% guaranteed. If a hacker tracks you down and wants to hack you, then they will figure out a way, because they're really smart, and they'll find some exploit or weakness in your system somewhere, and they'll be able to get in. And if that's if they're really targeting you, and if it's just one individual who's, I don't know, just got a beef with you and they just want to, it's like the people who take down like the White House website or break into the FBI website, website mainframe servers, and they're very targeted, specific attacks. And when you find with WordPress sites, it's not really targeted. It's just mainly bots. Software that's been created to go out and crawl the web and look for, exploits in websites, many millions of websites at a time. So, But anyway, so that's the database aspect, and so salts kind of plays a part with all that as well. So all of that's really important. So make sure that, and you can even just go in and change these on a regular basis as well to just keep your site a little bit more secure as well. But that's what the Ithemes security plugin does for you without actually you having to go into that WP config file. So that's what that setting was when you noticed, the salts setting, Brianda, before.
Just another question too. These plugins stop brute force attacks. Now, Jetpack has also got a thing you can tick for brute force. It'd be a good idea not to tick that one in Jetpack.
If you're using Jetpack, then I think use it because it's.
Yeah, so you're actually doubling up then, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess you are. Yeah, I get. Yeah,
Work or?
I mean, at a very base level of security, and if you're not really running any other security plugin, then and you're using Jetpack, then turn that on.
I got Jetpack and WordFence, so it wouldn't need these brute force in Jetpack then.
Probably not then. No, you could probably turn that off.
Another thing too with Jetpack, just I thought of too, I've also got Yoast. Now, does Yoast do an XML sitemap automatically? I think I was reading something.
Because it generates one automatically. Yeah, because
automatically. So I turn the XML sitemap off in Yoast, in Jetpack.
Yeah, you would do that definitely. So this WordPress salts thing, so that if you check that and you save, then it will generate a new set of set of salts. But I did notice something there.
Change the salts, but not change the password.
Yeah. Yes. Correct. So it doesn't change the password. It just changes the salts of the of something of the data of passwords. As it says in simple terms, a secret key is a password with elements that make it harder to generate enough options to break through your security barriers. And then it talks about, the password, a random, unpredictable password such as that. So that comes back to that hashing back in the database. That's what it says, takes years to come up with the right combination. And then a salt is used to further enhance the security of the generated result. So, let's just say that this thing just makes things a lot more harder for things to break into, which is what we want at the end of the day. Ithemes does file permissions as well. So you can load the current file permissions. So yes. So each file in your WordPress installation has a permission level. So you can see over here in the very right-hand sidebar under next to the files that it's got permissions. So most folders will have the 755 permission, and most files, most folders will have 755 as the permission, and pretty much a lot of individual files will have the 644 permission, and this one here has the 666 permission. So that's. So they all have different roles, and it's just basically allowing the system user to be able to access and modify any of these files. So so as a system user, so I can go in and edit any of these files because we have permission to do that. At a server level. However, if if you want to try and do that through your WP through the dashboard, or if there's any other sort of nefarious actors that are getting access to the file manager, and then they try to modify these files, then these permissions basically stop that from happening. So so yeah, so you never change your file structure to, let me just go into change permissions here. Never have your your permissions set to 777, because that allows everybody access to it, to be able to read, write, and execute on that file. So that's why these permissions are really, really important, and you should never change these at all. So, but yeah, so this particular thing here tells you what file structures, what file permissions are set. So, and it actually even says a suggestion. So even 444 is much more, so WP config, change the file, so you can go back to just this particular, which is basically read only permissions. So no user is able to write to that file. No group is able to write to that file. Yeah, so that's what that's suggesting there, is to change that file to 444 permission. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. I want to go and find where I always can't remember where to find where you can change the URL of the WordPress admin with the Ithemes security plugin. My server's really slow. So do you have any questions while that's loading about any of these plugins? Mm-hmm. Oh, I should also mention Securi. Securi also has a service. I think it's securi.com. So go there. So if your site gets hacked, then they've got a service where they can go and de-hack your website. So it's going to their pricing. And also they can do all the monitoring and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, so there's these different plans here. So and essentially, if you ever get hacked, then they will come in and remove it. And also sometimes when you get hacked, your domain name, your IP, the server IP may get blacklisted on various different platforms like Google, for example. That's a pretty big one. So if you get blacklisted, or you know, your brand reputation gets tarnished because of a hack, which can happen, then this service will actually go and go through the process of removing and actually going and manually, because you have to go and manually apply for your website or your domain name to get delisted off the blacklist. So yeah, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. So if your domain never gets blacklisted, then you have to go to the particular service to actually, you know, send in a request for your domain to get blacklisted. But this company does all that for you, and you don't have to. So you don't have to worry about it. So that's really important. Yeah. Another thing is, has everybody heard about Cloudflare?
Plus,
I've heard about it, yeah.
Yeah, so Cloudflare is a CDN, a content delivery network, and you can route your website through the Cloudflare CDN, and it will also help to protect your website. So it'll actually monitor traffic and monitor IPs, and because it's a big cloud, because it's a network of or cluster of servers that are scattered around the world, they're all collecting IP data as well from malicious, malicious attacks, DDoS attacks, or bots that are trying to access websites or on their network. So they're also collecting that data, and so if your site's running through Cloudflare, then your site will also be protected. There'll be another layer of protection on that as well. So yeah, and Cloudflare is a free. There's a free plan that you can sign up to, and it even does DDoS attack mitigation. Does your global content delivery network. And
could you have
yeah.
that as well as the Ithemes, or does it contradict again?
No, this works differently to Ithemes. So Ithemes is like website level, and but Cloudflare is kind of more like DNS. DNS level. It's not so much hosting or the website specifically. It's like it's generally the first thing that, because when you go to a domain name, when you type in a website domain address, that actually belongs to an IP address, right? So that address that you type in actually then looks for, so your browser then looks for the IP or any DNS that's related to that domain name, and it does this magically behind the scenes in a very fast manner. So it goes and looks up the DNS of the domain. It looks for the IP, the server IP, and then it then loads up the website. So what Cloudflare does is it adds the protection of layer at that initial investigation, or when the domain name is when the browser of the computer is negotiating or trying to work out, does this domain name, does it have, reference to an IP address or a server address? Is there any DNS available for this domain name? And then if, that all ticks off yes, then the website is loaded. So, but what Cloudflare does is it protects that initial domain delegation, I guess you could say. So yeah, nothing to do with your website. It's more to do with just the traffic that's coming to your website. And if it's a known IP that is attacking, like an attacking IP, then Cloudflare will just block it pretty much immediately. So it doesn't even get to your website. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. So just another layer of security, which is kind of good, but yeah. Their global content delivery network, though, is not that amazing here in Australia because of our bandwidth limitations. So yeah, it's not all that great here in Australia, Cloudflare. So if you've got like a global community, then it would be good for that. But yeah, Australia is not so great for Cloudflare and using it through the global content delivery network. Because we've just got horrible internet here in Australia. So, and the bandwidth costs are a lot. So yeah. Anyway, that kind of concludes this session. So is there any last questions that you might have, or
Nope. Thank you.
Right, that's right.
did you
I
learn
apologise
anything?
for that phone call. I've been wondering why this person hasn't been returning my emails, and it turns out they're not going through. I've been in trouble with emails lately, and I've got Google's changed some of the settings, so some of them aren't going through.
Using G Suite or?
No, I've got to work out how to set that up yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're just using just a general Gmail account, or
Yeah, I've had a look at it the other day, and it looks a bit complicated, so I'm going to take a bit of time to set it up.
right? Yeah. So are you using a domain specific?
I might leave you then, Paul, if
Okay. Yep.
and Jeff, if you're going. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks very much. Basically, what I did, I set it up.
Thanks for coming.
Righto.
Thanks very much, Brianna. I set it up through Gmail, and there's a whole lot of settings you can do to send out via your websites, but they're not. That thing's not working. So I'm going to use
Want a cup of coffee?
I have to get onto G Suite.
She's not leaving. Yeah. It's yeah. So you're sending out from email accounts from Gmail?
I'm just sending it out from Gmail. So I've got the Gmail account set up so that I can actually choose whatever
email to send from.
Email I want to send it out from.
Yeah. But that's been blocked on the other end. Your emails are being blocked on the other end. So
basically, what it is the settings in Gmail evidently aren't working anymore. I've got it set up on my websites so that mail can come directed from there to my Gmail account, but I can't send it out from my Gmail account with the website address. So I've got to get into G Suite to do that. Got to work it out. That's one of the priorities for this week.
Cool. You got some learning. Yeah, I use G Suite. It's pretty good. So, but yeah, do you have like multiple email accounts, or do you have just the one, or like for?
Well, basically, I've set up multiples, but the thing is, the main one I use is Jeff at Reputation Marketing Specialist. That's the one that goes out most of the time.
Oh, okay.
And when you set up G Suite, you've got to set up a separate one for each email you want to use. I've got to set up several.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a separate one for each email account I want to use, is it? Separate G Suite?
Yeah, well, that's one option, yeah. So they do charge you a monthly fee per email address.
Yeah, per email address. Okay, well, I'll stick to one then.
Yeah. If you wanted to do multiple and just do it on the cheap or on a shoestring budget, then have you had a look at Zoho Mail? Have you heard of Zoho Mail?
No, I haven't.
Because yeah, they're kind of like I guess Google's kind of like the US sort of based email / online tools provider. Zoho is like their competitor, and it's Indian based, so it's an Indian company, and they have a whole bunch of different stuff like CRMs and help desks and all sorts of different tools, and they've even got their own version of like docs and PowerPoint slides, all that stuff. Albeit they're not that great. I've used them and they're not amazing, so they're not that fast. But anyway,
I'll stick to G Suite then, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just after like email addresses to start with, then Zoho Mail, they have a free forever plan version. And you get 5 gigabytes of space, and but the only thing is you can only get web access only, so you can't set up SMTP on email, like email applications. And you wouldn't be able to, set these up via Gmail either. But I always point people to here if they just need to get started with an email address that is based on their domain, and they can just use they can just log into the web portal of Zoho Mail, similar to Gmail. Or they could download the app on their phone, the Zoho app, and connect it up that way as well, which is pretty neat. So, so if you're just out to just get some emails for the cheap, then you could set up a free forever plan to get started. But yeah, you just won't be able to sort of do anything with Gmail. But at the end of the day, G Suite's the king.
Yeah.
So, cool, man. All right. Well,
thanks very much.
That's all right.
See you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Is there anything?
I actually see you tomorrow night.
Yeah, see you tomorrow night. Yeah. I should put that on here as well. So if anybody is watching this, tomorrow night we're having the WordPress Gold Coast Meetup. So if you go to meetup.com and search for WordPress Gold Coast, you'll find the information there, and you can register and join. And I think you need to register first, and then you'll be able to see the meeting details. But yeah, join us for and we're going to be having a panel of speakers. We're going to have 5 panelists, so of all different, I guess, user levels of WordPress, and they're all going to be answering different questions and talking about WordPress. And the main topic is, what WordPress can do for us or for you. And just be talking about the amazing tool that we have come to know and love. So yeah, so hopefully you can join us. And Jeff, I will see you there tomorrow night. And
thanks very much.
We'll see you next week. Do you have anything you want to cover next week? Anything that's you want to recommend?
Nothing specific at the moment.
All right. Well, if you do, let me know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Cool.
Bye.
See you, Jeff. Take care.
Bye. Bye. Too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.